Hello, hello. Welcome back to Beyond Common Business Secrets. I'm your host, Tracey Watts Cirino. And as always, on Beyond Common Business Secrets, we are here to be your work, business, workaholic, whatever you want to call it, support system every week. So today on the podcast, we are going to be talking about a season of possibility. So this is all about refining your goals and rethinking in your life and business, like what's working, what's not. And let's come up with different rituals to release and let go so we can make room and invite in more of what is truly possible to like share your magic and beautiful gifts with the world in a bigger, brighter, shinier way than maybe has ever been possible for you at this moment. So I like to do this type of podcast this season because, this will be aired later, but we're in this time and space of like spring. So what is happening and whenever you're listening to this, because I know we have podcast listeners from all over the world, but here in the US right now, this is like spring. And sometimes it's just like spring is that feeling of spring is sprung and here we are. What is really possible? Like how we're like just a quarter of our way into the new year. And have you achieved what you thought you would in the first quarter? Are you on track to 10x what you thought was possible? So do you need to take a step back and really double down on what's really good? Or are things really not working and it's been like a huge struggle and you're really feeling like you can't go on like this anymore? No matter what it is, just acknowledge and bring awareness to this. This is the time to really dig in a little and get really clear on what does a season of possibility really look like for you? What would refining your goals, like what does that look like? Are you looking for a total transformation in the area of health and like wealth, of how you approach wealth both in your business and in your personal life? These are things that we can dive into. Now, I know one of the things that we've really been focusing on this year is really making sure that we grow so that we can help more and more people save 10 or more hours per week, every week. And that is a lot of the intentional possibilities that we set within the CEO Power Code program. So if you have not if you have not been part of the last launch of that with us, I strongly encourage you. That is reopening again in a couple of weeks. So check out the CEO Power Code. And really, the more that we can like maximize our time, that really invokes us to be living from a place that is us making the decision, right? Have you ever felt like, oh, I haven't got to do anything for myself, not even one day, because it felt like all you're doing is serving everyone else? Like that happens when we don't take time to plan with intention how we want our daily lives to go, how we want our, personal, our business lives. When we plan our life with intention, it's like the business just serves you as a person, and it needs to, because no matter what anybody tells you, no matter what guru says what or what's been said before, this is busting through the glass ceiling. And I am proud to be one of the female leaders that are pioneering this mission, because the thing is that just because it was always done that old way, it is toxic for us to accept that we have to do it that way. We do not have to sacrifice. We do not have to accept burnout, mental exhaustion, cancer, and other stressors, heart attack, all sorts of things that wreak havoc on our body, mind, and spirit. this is not an acceptable way of doing business. And this does not make us good for anyone, right? This is when we believe we're a servant to the business. And as somebody that was stuck in that thought pattern, even that belief for, more than 20 years of my life, I'm here to tell you that when you bust through this and come out on the other side, to really think about, okay, I might have used to thought that, or I used to actually believe that. What do I currently believe? Just ask yourself, like, what is true for me now? Right? What is true for me now? Does it invoke the possibility that this season can be all about shifting and change for you? Because it is one thing to be successful in business and loving your life, but it is quite another to be successful in business and feel like you've mortgaged your soul and you have nothing and no one. That is a whole different thing and is not fun. And I do not wish that for anyone. So the thing is that when we look at what's possible, it's like, okay, so maybe what's one thing that you could delegate today, now, that would actually save up 10 hours or more every week. What's one thing? Write it down. Don't think about it. Just write it down. Like, let it come from your heart and just write it down, right? The more action we take, just writing it down, it gets it sort of out of our head. So when we're thinking about what's possible this season, it's coming from a place of, okay, this is all anew. I can have anything and everything I want. What do I want it to look like? What do I really want in my business? What would be so exciting? So I know I get so excited to teach women how to love the skin they're in, write their own paycheck, and be absolutely the CEO of their own life. That jazzes me up. Those are skills that I've been teaching people for years, even back in the days when I was in the hair, beauty, and cosmetic industry. I still did that with how I served clients. It was still part of how I ignited them into seeing themselves in a more self, like higher self-esteem and higher self-image, right? The thing is that is awesome. Like, we need some of that stuff going on the skin level, on the surface level, but the layers deeper underneath of where I wanted to serve was to go deeper and bring awareness to the fact that, yes, you can have anything you want. What do you actually want? The first step to having anything you want is making a decision that anything is possible. So what does that look like for you? So this is where we get to light our imagination on fire. And sometimes it's like, oh, well, what does that mean? And so, I can say as somebody that I am definitely a bit woo, but a lot of strategy, right? So it's like, I believe that there's all these things coming in from divine downloads, and you can tap into your different layers of awareness and consciousness through meditation and envisioning what you really want, and being in tune with that, focus. But I also know that sometimes we need tangible things, right? So when we're talking about igniting and lighting your imagination, it's like, what do you love to do? Do you love to just walk in nature? Go do that. Do you love music? Find a song and dance around the kitchen while you're making dinner for the kids today. Do you love getting together with friends for brunch? Throw a great brunch or just get people together. Do something that you love that ignites your creativity, that ignites your soul. Just do something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going and I know my life purpose. It's so heavy. Don't even worry about that. Just take this idea and take action on it. The other thing is like, what areas in your business could use a refresh or a renewal? Like, what's something that oh, we used to do that and it was amazing, successful. Oh, why do we stop doing that? Maybe we need to do it again, right? Like, what needs a refresh and renewal? What needs to be completely trash? You know how on your computer when you're cleaning, you're like, trash, trash. What are things that you're still doing in your business, or there are team members still doing that are trash? They don't serve a purpose. Stop doing them. Sometimes we just keep going with that because we just forgot to question, What's actually working? What do I never want to do again? Now, if there is something on your list that you are like, oh, I hate doing this, I never ever want to do it again, but you're like, okay, well, I'm waiting, maybe you're really strategic and you're waiting to get to a certain budget to do it. And once you get there, you're going to do like that is great. But if you have not even considered or given yourself permission to think through what you don't want to do anymore, you just go through it begrudgingly. I strongly urge you, it's like, imagine what your life will be like when you don't have to do that thing anymore and start focusing on the things that you do want. And that will slowly start to shift all the things that need to line up so that you can delegate that to someone else. Like you need the money to come in, you need to create a strategic plan with a coach or consultant, you need to be a part of a community that keeps you in that high vibe energy because you maybe don't have that around you right now. Whatever it is, it will come in. Maybe a random friend that you haven't seen in 10 years will run into the grocery store and say, oh, I've been really looking to do XYZ, and it's the thing you hate. Oh my goodness. Ding, ding. That by getting clear and asking these harder questions, we are able to create the new reality of what we really want to see. So I invite you, ask yourself, what needs a refresh? What needs a renewal? What needs the complete delete? Like, get rid of it. I'm done with this. And then one of the things that I want you to think about is in all areas, even in the areas where you're like, okay, this is really working, we're doing really well. We don't want to get complacent and think that that one thing is going to work forever because it's like what got you here is not going to get you to the next level. So there's a really great book called 10X is, I think it's 10X is easier than 2X. Like this is a really interesting strategy that you can look through because what you're doing now, may be great, but if we just get complacent and keep doing, there's going to be this point where it's like stifling, where you have this regression, where you can't grow because you haven't put the next growth pillars in place. So even when things are good, I urge you to like, what does the next level look like? How can we think this through to the next like 10X of where we're going? And I think 10X is a great way to look at it because it allows me personally to get super excited and think of things that are way out of the realm. So that later when they happen, you're like, oh my goodness, the only reason it possibly could have happened is because we were thinking so big. So surround yourself with people that cheer you on and they believe in you and they believe in what's possible. Even with like people that help you believe in what's possible, surround yourself with people like that. And if you don't have those people currently in your life, come into our Facebook group. It's Beyond Common Business Secrets is the name of the Facebook group, but it's really a group of female entrepreneurs that were just supportive and helping each other through it all. So that's a great community to get started. Read books about what's possible. Keep listening to this podcast every week. There's so many things that should feed that part of you. So continue to do that stuff. So the next layer is when we're thinking about, all the things that are possible in this season, I look at it through this lens. How can I add, how can you add color to this? And I mean this like metaphorically, but you can take it literal too. So as a former like expert hair colorist from way back when, I personally just love color. Like I love to know that just by changing a color in a room, changing a color of a document, changing your hair color, you can create a whole new emotional feeling. So I want you to get creative. Where can you add a dash of color? Because even when things are working really well, you may want to add a splash of color. Now, if it changes things and they're going off sides, then maybe that's not the right color there. Try something else. Maybe you're feeling blah. This is the fun thing about a season of possibility. Like anything is possible. It's like, what splash of color And metaphorically speaking, like, what's that one thing that if you splashed in there would change everything? Maybe you're somebody that loves to play guitar and you set it down 10 years ago. So picking up the guitar a couple times a week could be like this game changer splash of color for you. Get a blue guitar, get a purple guitar. It doesn't matter, but where could you splash this? Like, years and years ago, my husband and I were on vacation and we were walking up and down the beach. And we love to take beach walks, and it's like romantic and it's our time to connect. And the kids were, getting seashells, and we were just walking, and we could do this for hours and hours. And in that moment, we were like, oh, why can't we do this at home? And I looked at him and I said, well, why can't we? Like, I still walk in the mornings. And he was like, and sometimes he does on the weekend. And it was just kind of like a thing, like, well, why are we thinking this can only happen on vacation? And this is going back a little more than 4 years ago that we've made this commitment. And we looked at each other and said, well, who's stopping us? Like, it's up to us. Like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like, here we go. So what we put in place in that moment was, instead of going home from vacation and then waiting till the weekend to start this new habit, we said, the moment that we get home, no matter how tired, jet lag, because just flying back, you just never know what's going to happen. So we set an intention that no matter what happens, we were getting up every single day. Yes, every day. Rain, sun, snow, or shine, did not matter. We live where there's a lot of snow. And the weather changes on a dime. It's 90 degrees one day and then like a blizzard the next. It's crazy here. So the thing is that we set that intention that no matter what, we were committed to putting our relationship first. So we decided to start walking and talking first thing in the morning. So we started meeting for walks at 6:30, which is like before we had to get the kids up, before getting them on the bus, before we got ready for work. So we made this commitment, and we committed to it. I think the first 2 years we did it every day, no breaks. We didn't take breaks on the weekend either. Now, we're a little more flexible. So now I still get up early and do my meditation. I try to do some other things, but I have a little bit lazier of a weekend morning than I used to. And then we may not walk until like 7:30 or maybe 8, but we still get the walk in, and it's still the priority. So where could you add in a splash of color? Like, for us, this is something we really loved, and we were like saving it up for just vacation. This has proven to be such a deeper layer of connection for our marriage, for how we parent, for how we show up as leaders and coaches in our businesses. So it's really interesting that this was an area like, oh, let's splash in some of the joy that we love of a beach vacation. And we started going on these morning walks. And it definitely has improved the quality of our communication, improved the quality of our marriage, of how we problem solve, our parenting. So it's changed so much. So this is the real life idea of how you can add more color. Like, how do you add more color? So think about it through that lens. And recently in the business, so we have really been looking at layering different things. So what we have decided at Beyond Common Coaching and Training Company is that we are really going more strategic on the podcast. Like, this has been sort of an extra, it's something special, but we're going all in. We get so many people that call all the time that want to be on the podcast that haven't like done the very best that that we would have liked, even though we've asked on the front end to share it and do different things. So, and then we've also had a few like minor people reach out to be sponsors. So we are really refining this area and turning the podcast into an area that is not like, because currently it's been more just about creation and our sort of give back. It's like our donation back to the female business community, right? It's like, don't make this mistake. This will save you hundreds of millions of dollars if you do it this way instead. So we are very clear now that this can now turn into an arm in our business that is monetized. So that's something where we're adding a splash of color, and we've got some exciting stuff coming up for you. And, it'll be really exciting for you, to see how we birth this into action. So, the other thing too is that a few years ago, I put the Beyond Common business essentials. It's essentially the foundational training course that, if you want the bare bones version of how to start out successful or how to reset your success, that's where you start. It's those 12 essentials. You start there and it will catapult your growth, right? So that program we put on autopilot. You can buy it, you can purchase it any time of year, you can go through it at any time of year. So we put that for sale every day of the year. And that was an area where I had thought in the beginning where I had to launch, like I had to always be launching that. And then it kept me from launching anything new, where I realized, wait, that doesn't work for my energy. So because Beyond Common Essentials program is available for purchase every single day of the year, that's how we were able to birth new things into being, right? Like that is how the CEO Power Code, which is in the stages where we launch it a few times a year and you get to go through live coaching and training. It's one of those things that you have access to, like it's yours for life, once you purchase it. And as we update and do stuff, we'll constantly be updating and sharing that with the founding members. But this created space. So this was an area where I had to add some color. Like this was a season where we had to look at stuff and say, okay, what's actually possible, right? What's actually possible, and what do I really like to do? Like I love teaching, and I have no problem going first, making mistakes, kind of making a complete fool of myself, sometimes complete, falling on my face, fail, whatever it looks like. But then I teach it right away, right? I teach, okay, this worked, this did. So I have no problem with that. And that's probably what makes me a really good teacher. So when I did, I think it was like 330 different interviews of it was kind of research for different books and stuff that I was writing. It really came clear because I had no idea, but that became clear that people really wanted from me the time-saving tips, and that they really resonated when I spoke about, I have this system in place, I have this strategy, but I have intention and I do certain affirmations. So when I started teaching it through that lens, everyone was like, they want it so badly. So it was through research that it really, I always considered myself more creative. Like I like to create stuff. But I hadn't realized that I was so good, I guess, at creating time-saving tips and strategies in a creative way. And that was because of all of the interviews I did. So for those of you that are still hanging out with us that were part of those, thank you, because this is how we were able to create the CEO Power Code. This came from, where do we need a refresh? Where do we need a renewal to stay excited? And how do we add a splash of color? So yes, inside the CEO Power Code, we take you through a system, a procedure for really customizing what works for you and your strengths and your business, what you have to get rid of, but it's for you. It's not cookie cutter. It's not homogenized what everybody else is doing. It really teaches you how to set up these systems and strategies in various areas so that you save a minimum of 10 hours or more every week. And of course, because it's me and I like to create, like I have to share and teach it in a creative way. And that's where it's like add a splash of color. So that's the thing. Like I'm sharing this story with you so that you can, take it and apply it to an area of your life. Like where can you take what you're naturally good at and add that splash of color? This is what we've done with the CEO Power Code, because we all get to, right? We all get to create a life that is filled with the freedom that we want, that you have enough time, money, and energy to do what you love in your work and it's fulfilling. And you have enough of that time and energy left over to truly enjoy your life and enjoy spending time with your loved ones. So that is what the CEO Power Code is for, right? And once you get once you get the fundamentals of how to do it, you can literally, I always say it's like, okay, it sounds funny, but it's like, then you take this transparency paper, once you've got the system down, and you can put it over every area of your life. So you can actually save even more time. And when we save time, we can create more money, right? It's like you can launch another income stream. Like we were able to launch being founding partners with the Ryman skincare, which is amazing because I'm all about loving the skin you're in. And for those of you that have been here for a long time, I was struggling with this crazy like adult acne. I had done every single skincare. I had done every single vitamin. I did every juice cleanse. And I think finally I arrived at the combination of the most helpful, healthy vitamins that work with my system and the skincare, which is it's K Beauty, which is amazing. So if you have not heard of K Beauty, I can put the link in the show notes. The thing is that because we're operating from a space where we maximize our time and I can truly run my daily life like the CEO that I am of both my life and business, I created space that I could receive this in, right? So where can you add the splash of color so that you can create more space? So I hope that you found this helpful, and I would love to hear your thoughts and insights. Please share them with me on Instagram at Tracey Watts Cirino or in our Facebook group, Beyond Common Business Secrets. And please take a moment and write a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. So whatever platform you're on, if you're on Spotify, you're on Apple, you're listening to it on iHeartRadio, wherever you are listening to this podcast, please send us a review. Give us that feedback. The more reviews we get, the more the podcast is shared with others. So we so appreciate it. And we love hearing from you. So as always, take care. We hope you have the most beyond amazing day, and I will see you on the next one.